Well, hello everybody and welcome back. As I was saying in the last video, it's time to do a quick update on how all the permaculture stuff is doing in the yard before we get going on, this year's annual gardens, tomatoes, peppers. I've even got some sprouted potatoes, and I got those 3 potato mounds, so might even get some of them this year. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see kind of what does grow this year. I want to try a more traditional row garden. Well, more traditional than I usually garden anyway. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I've got a lot of cleanup to do because I haven't done any of that yet. So we'll just show you the naked truth of what the garden looks like as we're going into June, because my garden season here in Manitoba doesn't start until like the 1st of June. So, all right. Now, I do apologize if the camera gets yanked around at all during this. I have a puppy on a string here. He's not terribly controlled with his leash behaviors just yet. He's only 6 months old though, so these things happen. Here we've got the gooseberry bush, the original gooseberry bush that we brought all the way from BC, and a couple more layered clones. I'm betting if I remove this rock, we'll find... Puppy, come here. Come here. I got some good tug on that. That's not coming out. I'm definitely able to cut those free. A couple more gooseberry plants. Simple as putting a rock over it. You gotta like something that, produces roots for you that easy. Because basically that is how this whole swale came to be. And they're all doing really well with the start to this year. We'll go around the back side here, so hopefully Puppy doesn't get too much in the way, nor does my shadow. And then towards, look how beautiful that one is. Towards the middle, we have now Honey Queen, Honey Crisp, I want to say Honey Queen, variety of like a golden yellow raspberry. The Sharp picked up for us last year, so they survived their first winter, and it was a bitter, long, cold winter, so that is exciting. At least we know they can deal with the temperatures. Now it's time to grow and see if they can give us some fruit, because that would be nice. That's kind of what it's all about. And the rest of this is just more gooseberries that are all doing exceptionally well. A couple of these I could even dig up and maybe find a new home for. Replace them with the smaller ones, and that'd be just fine. Now, thinking of rooting cuttings and such, this here, I believe, is the wild black currant that is also referred to as a black gooseberry. And I know this seems really weird. The best way for me to describe the flavor of this is it tastes like the artificial bubblegum flavor in blue bubblegum ice cream. Pretty specific, I know, but that's what I got. Now, I didn't really expect any of these to produce roots, because I just kind of plunked them in there over the winter. They got buried in snow. They looked pretty dead, but I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, possibly 8 of those things that seem to have leaves. I'm guessing that means they've got roots, so that's fantastic for the edible fence line. And then here we have, these are the Red Lake red currants. Just tons of cuttings in there. I stuffed them in there willy-nilly because I was trimming the bush down anyway. And I'm not even going to try and count how many are in there. But I think it's safe to say I've got a lot more of those to plant out and to share around. So that's wonderful. I think these are also from the Red Lake, but I don't know for sure. What I do know is that some rodent got into this cloth planter over the winter and chewed away at the side of it. So for as well as those things have put up with the seasons out here, that's the first one I've lost, and it was to rodent damage, not weather, so good on them. Speaking of the Red Lake Currant, this is the one that we brought from BC with us, and I had planted where that black creamer separator thing is, but I decided to dig it up because it was in the way. Still need to do some porch repairs. Wasn't sure if it was going to survive the winter, being in a half barrel. And while it is a little slow to get started, it's not in exactly a full sun location. Yeah, but it is coming back, so that is wonderful. Because this thing, well, there's plenty of cuttings I can take off of this to make more red currant bushes, aren't there? Oh yeah. It's going to look fantastic when this thing is fully greened up. And then being away from the porch wall, we should actually be able to harvest all the way around it this year too. That'll be nice. Just need to find a more permanent location to put this beauty. Well, permanent location to put a planted bush. I don't know. It's an odd one, but anyway, there's the Red Lake red currant, which brings us to our haskap berry. This thing has already got the beginnings of its flowers on here. And yeah, look at how well this has exploded in green growth. I do love the haskap for how early in the season it throws out those little yellow flowers. And then, yeah, how early in the season those translate to berries. Now, it takes a while for those berries to ripen up, but still, very, very nice. And that bush is still quite consistently twice the size of the little honeyberry over here. I'm getting tugged around by the puppy, so apologize for the camera. But as we can see, this is also exploding with green. You can see the beginnings of the flowers on there. A wonderful little football-shaped berry. The smaller bush does produce berries about twice the size of the larger bush, but only, half as many because it's just a tiny little bush. So I definitely need to get some cuttings of this rooted, expand its section in our gardens. All things in time. So checking on the edible fence line, here we have the Romeo Cherry from last year. This poor little guy, I was quite worried about how it would do, but seemed to have plenty of green on it. So that is excellent. Be nice to see this thing grow a little bit this year. Don't think we're getting any cherries, but grow all the same. And then here we have the Mount Royal Plum. Puppy, come here. Pulling. I don't know. This kind of looks like leaf buds to me, but I can't say it looks like the leaves are opening up. Puppy. Oh, he is making this tricky. Anywho, I do hope this thing survived. Really would like to have some plums on the property. And then halfway up here we've got one of the red currant cuttings. This thing looked just a lonely little stick when I put it in the ground, just to kind of test how it would do. And here we have a well-rooted and growing red currant. So that's excellent. These things are everywhere, and if you've got to have some sort of a fence line, why not an edible one? So here we have the pear tree. Got some leaves budding out on there. A few further up. It was a really long winter and a really strange spring. So that's left me quite curious as to how all these various fruit trees and bushes are going to do. And down here we've got the black it's a black currant. What is it? It's a Ben Conan, right? There's no tag. It's a Ben Conan black currant. Picked this up last year for $20, which, to me, kind of a lot to pay, but also being me, we took some cuttings. So I've got at least two here, breaking down the cost a little bit. That's the neighbor's shepherd saying hi. She's not quite used to the little archer there. And if we move a little further along, all the way in the back here we have the Juliet Cherry. She's been with us for a few years. Finally taller than me, so that's nice. Hoping for a nice, productive year this year. These are delicious little cherries. They're not big, they're little, but they are, oh, so flavorful. And let's see, what else we got? Well, I guess the last little bit of perennial gardens we've got is these fabulous walking onions, Egyptian onions, whatever you want to call them, wandering onions. I did take a few of the pearl sets and I planted them, kind of looks like a row of dandelions right now, but in a few weeks, maybe even months, they'll pop up. We'll be able to see them in there. I'm going to expand the perennial onion part of this garden forward a little bit. because the onion garden in the back is just, it spends an extra month under snow that this one doesn't. Actually, up in the front of this, we've got some interesting finds too. So I was out here with Char the other day, and I don't know how many of you remember that we thought the onions didn't make it at all, but somehow we seem to have onions popping up this year that look a lot more solid than the ones I planted out last year. So I guess they did grow a little bit, some of them. I thought they either didn't grow or went to seed, you know, it seemed to be the situation, but again, in amongst all the dandelions, grass blades, Puppy, come back. There does seem to be an onion garden here. Puppy, out of the garden, out the garden. This little boy's gonna have to learn about strings and garden barriers and such. But that is pretty much the wrap up for today, looking at the perennials and stuff. I think the next video probably going to be taking a look at that monster aloe, because I'm going to try cutting it back, seeing if I can get it to root again. And yeah, I'm going to let you go. This wind is picking up and it's probably on the mic. So much love, happy gardening. I'll see you guys next time.